Welcome to the second video in our two-part series on residential development. In this video, we will explain how the city uses the general plan and zoning to plan the city in a way that provides a range of housing types required by state and federal law, protects private property rights, and protects the property values of existing residents. The Utah Department of Commerce states that one of the most important rights associated with property ownership is the ability to adapt or develop it for some profitable or desirable use. Development and use of property supports economic growth and contributes to public welfare. To some degree, consistent with property rights, the city can regulate the use of property through planning and zoning. The city has adopted a non-binding general plan with a land use element that serves as a vision for development in the city. Citizens are invited and encouraged to provide suggestions and comments during the planning process. The city has also adopted a zoning map and zoning text that establishes zones of permitted uses and regulations. So what is zoning? In Utah, zoning is used to prevent conflicts in property uses, protect public safety, and the overall quality of our community. A zone controls what types of developments can be built in a certain area. Residential zones are areas in the community zoned for housing. Residential zones include various levels of density and regulations, controlling the size of lots and the types of residential structures that may be built in a particular zone. Zones may also include regulations related to building placement, open space, landscaping, and other requirements. The zoning map and text are legally binding on both the city and property owners. Property owners in the city have the right to develop property consistent with the zoning and other requirements in place when they submit an application and pay required fees. The city generally cannot change zoning or apply new zoning rules after an application is filed. This means that in some cases, properties have vested development rights associated with them that have been in place for many years, sometimes prior to the incorporation of the city. These rights may include the permitted density and type of zoning regulations and uses applied to the property. These vested rights usually cannot legally be taken away. The development process for a residential zone begins when a property owner meets with the city planner to discuss our planning process, timelines and submittal requirements, submission dates, the current zone standards, and if a rezone is needed. If a property owner wants to do something different than what is allowed by zoning, they must seek a zoning change, also called a rezone, a variance, or prior to submitting an application, a code amendment. If a rezone is needed, it must be approved by the City Council. When the Planning Department receives a development application, it is routed to the Development Review Committee, the DRC. This committee is made up of staff members from various city departments, including representatives from the police and fire departments. The DRC reviews the submittal for appropriate requirements, such as zoning and land development regulations, land engineering and infrastructure requirements, and public safety code requirements. After any issues that have been found by the DRC have been addressed and there are not any outstanding issues, the Planning Department will either approve the application or schedule a time for the application to be reviewed by the Planning Commission and, in some cases, the City Council. Once the Planning Commission and/or City Council have approved the development application, the landowner may proceed to the next step, which may include moving forward with obtaining the necessary building permits for development or submitting another development application. As people continue to see what we already know, that Saratoga Springs is a great place to live, more housing will be developed. But this is a good thing for attracting businesses and job opportunities. Businesses look at housing data to decide whether the city would be a good place to build or expand their business. Beyond providing jobs and services to our residents, businesses provide an adequate and stable tax base to help pay for city services, including police and fire protection and quality of life programs. The mayor, city council, and staff are working hard to help our community develop in a fiscally sustainable and desirable way to make Saratoga Springs an ideal place to live, work, and play, and to ensure that life's just better here.